Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode is appropriate for all ages.
Hi everyone, welcome to Animation Communication, the episode that you probably won't listen to because we don't have any guests because we're boring. So I'm KP as usual.
No, it says we're interesting people. It's just a matter of we've had a lot of guests on the show.
Now
we're
it's the summer.
I promise we are.
It's hot, it's hard. People don't want to talk in the heat. California's on fire. You know, it's great.
Yeah, my world's on fire. How about yours? Yours too.
So I'm KP as normal, and this is Lauren as normal.
Yep.
So basically, we're gonna spend this episode talking about conventions, some prep for doing in-person conventions because
now that conventions are coming back, guys, we're trying to do it obviously very safely to make sure people don't mess it up this time around.
Basically, go get your vaccine and you should be okay.
Get your shots, y'all. Just it's not like even I came out of it totally fine. Like my first shot, like the worst I had was muscle aches. Second one, worst I had was a little tiny bit of soreness. Maybe it was a tiny bit tired, but after a nap I was fine. Didn't get any other symptoms, so there's that.
I was tired, but I'm always tired, so that is not normal. Not normal. Words are hard. Okay, so we're gonna do some news stories first, and then we'll go break down to KP and Lauren's guide for surviving cons. And this is from a perspective of someone who's never gone to a not local convention before. So if you've heard all of these things that we're gonna talk about, we'll try to still make it funny, so it'll be entertaining and to remind you of things to do. Like, obviously, conventions will vary if they're masked or mandated or not. Usually, I imagine they will not be if you have been vaccinated. If you have not been vaccinated by the fall, then there might be a problem and you probably shouldn't be going out of state anyway. So there might be some tweaks here and there, but every time I always post that I'm going to a convention and somewhere, people are like, oh, I can't afford that. I'm like, yes, you can if you budget. So I'm going to teach you guys how to budget your money. Okay, but let's get to
crash course in con 101.
Crash course, yeah, eat the food. All right, so let's get to the news first, and then we will go to the con things. Okay, I guess, Lauren, do you want to do the first one, the bird story?
Yeah. So speaking of birds is the word. Tuca and Birdie season 2 finally dropped on Adult Swim. It drops on Adult Swim today as of recording this. And they've been doing a whole bunch of promotional stuff for it. It's been getting a lot of traction on social media, which is really great. This is like the biggest middle finger to Netflix for dropping the show after the first season. Which I think the first season is still up on Netflix. But so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Go support it. But otherwise, it is on Adult Swim this time around with first season 2. If you haven't seen all of the pictures and video of the barges that they've been floating around, like New York Harbor and up and down the West Coast in Southern California, they've been doing these giant pool inflatable Tuca and Birdies riding on a giant barge, and they're huge. But it's been a great promotion, so please go support it. I guess that segues into another show that I'm personally very excited for. I was super hyped, being the 80s nut that I am. But if you want to talk about KP, I'm totally.
Oh, I guess I can talk about it because I thought it was interesting. So the new He-Man is coming to Netflix. Do you remember when, Lauren? I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's and technically it's Masters of the Universe. So it is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe kind of coming back. It is going to be produced by Powerhouse Animation. Yes, the same group that did Castlevania, and so that just wrapped up, right? And I guess they're planning on doing a spin-off of that.
Yeah, they're doing a spin-off with sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, but I'm like, I personally think a lot of people are saying so that, they're like saying, it's like, let us have a little time to breathe and then we can go back into Castlevania. But anyway, either way, that people are still excited for what it may hold. But with He-Man specifically, this is, it's created, obviously, because of She-Ra, it's created a lot of discourse, which, I mean, quote, discourse, it hasn't really, saying, like, oh, here's She-Ra, and then here's He-Man. I'm like, well, they're two very different things and two different audiences, so it's okay that they're different, and two entirely different studios. There's that too. But they've been really pushing like the 80s nostalgia angle for this incarnation of He-Man to like really bring it back to the hooah muscle and Mark Hamill being Skeletor. That's gonna be a lot of fun. I mean, at the moment you have Mark Hamill in anything, it's like even if he's gonna sell you that character 1,000,000%. And so I have high hopes for He-Man. And anything else you'd like to
Oh,
add?
I wanted
I'm
to
gonna
add
double
too.
check what the date is.
Okay, yeah, a couple things. As Lauren is saying, I think it's probably too early to see if it's going to connect with the She-Ra Netflix. It's unlikely this early on, just because of what Lauren was saying.
Very, very soon. The first part is expected to debut on July 23rd this year. So very, very soon.
Oh, okay.
On Netflix, yeah.
I
And
need
it's a series set in 2 parts.
Okay, so anyway,
Calling out for a hero till the end of the night.
yeah, in the trailer they had the original
And it's
version.
also created, and I also like to point out it was created by Kevin Smith. So if you've heard his name through the comic circles, then yes, he's responsible for this. And yeah, for those who don't know him in the comic circle, he was in Clerks. But anyway,
Okay, so it's too early to see if this will connect with the newer She-Ra. It's unlikely at this point, but maybe if it does well, we'll see. The other thing is, because alternate universes,
stylistically, they're both very different.
Yeah.
So
alternate
like
universes,
even art style,
anything is whatever. And the other thing is, in case you didn't know, it is a continuation of the original cartoon. So it is not a reboot. It is, I mean, it's kind of a reboot, but it's not a reboot. It's just like leaves off, I guess, where it was, or like maybe there's just some time skip. I'm not sure the specifics.
Yeah, it is called Masters of the Universe Revelation. So it's set after the final battle between He-Man and Skeletor. So
I guess it wasn't that final.
Yeah. So yeah, should be really awesome. Yeah, and obviously released by Mattel Television. So Mattel-vision. Missed opportunity there.
we can't win them all.
Yeah, and at least in terms of other actual sooner releases, I guess you could say, for streaming, and just for streaming this time around, which may be a bittersweet headline here, but Luca, Pixar's Luca, comes out this week. It will be dropping on Disney Plus, exclusively on Disney Plus, on June 18th. And so please go support it. It's funny, I've noticed this running trend of Pixar having their movies released without the upcharge of $30.
Yeah, I was going to ask,
Disney
do I have to pay extra money for this?
No. This one comes free with the service. There is no $30 upcharge for Luca. It was just kind of like what happened with Soul. Soul didn't have an upcharge either, but I figured that was because it was Christmas and they didn't want to upcharge people $30 at Christmas. But anyway, but yeah, please go support this really fun, really cute. If you haven't seen any of the trailers for it, you're kind of missing out. It looks really adorable, and it has a fun new art style that they're trying out. If you want to see 3 best friends on an unforgettable summer vacation in Italy, and it also involves sea monsters, which is really not much of a spoiler. Just please go see the trailer. It looks really good.
Yeah, I think Disney's learning their lesson, because it's like when you upcharge people to see the thing that they want you to see, then people don't see it, and then your thing doesn't do well, and then you get sad. So, from my understanding, Raya didn't do the upcharge. Didn't do great.
Raya did do the upcharge.
Yeah, Raya did.
But now it's on the service without the upcharge. That was as of last week. So it just got added back on without the upcharge.
You can get 2 summer movies for the price of $8.99 or
Oh,
whatever it is.
one more headline for you, actually. Go see Wish Dragon. Sony Animation's Wish Dragon. Please go support it. It's on Netflix right now. So it's at no additional cost to you. Just go see it. It's really, really cute. You'd think it's like Aladdin. Oh, here's a wish dragon. It's 3 wishes, blah, blah, blah. But it's not. It's a different take on that Aladdin type story. And I love what they do with it. It's extremely cute and extremely heartfelt. Also, Long is a precious noodle boy. Give him all of the shrimp chips. Please go watch the movie.
Okay, and the last headline besides that is I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings. It's the only pop culture thing that I haven't digested yet. But apparently Warner Brothers is making a new Lord of the Rings anime. I think it's a prequel. It's called Lord of the Rings: War of Rayam. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what's a golem. So that seems neat, I guess. I'm sure it'll kind of have a lot of inspiration from the Bakshi kind of Lord of the Rings anime style, but I think it just got announced and it just got a logo release, so it's a little bit too soon to judge it. But I am curious to see what they do with it, and maybe it will make me care about Lord of the Rings, because it's a lot of lore. It's a lot of lore to get through. It's hard.
It's Lore of the Rings.
There's the joke.
So anyway, I think that was the most headlines we've had for a while. But yeah, there's quite a bit that happened. It's funny. It was a few weeks ago, but also I guess I could quickly slide in there because if I'm recalling correctly, that we didn't have headlines for the last episode, and so quickly slipping it in there. I'm not going to take long. Lupin Part 6 comes in October. That is all.
So slowly but surely, it will become the Lupin podcast, and then suddenly the avatars will appear with hats, and I'll be like, "What's going on?" Okay, so So as someone, I guess, Lauren's done conventions too, right? Well, you've traveled before.
You've done
right?
more. You've done more of them, but I have done my fair share.
I've done a lot of them at this point. With the pony conventions, I've probably done 25, 30-ish at.
Yeah, I have not done that many, but I've done enough to have experience in it.
It's a lot of work. So a lot of times people ask me about, hey, KP, I'd love to see you or go to this con. A lot of times, generally, people don't go to see me. Usually they'll go because they're local and they'll see me there and they'll be like, oh, it's you. Or more likely, it's like, oh, what do you do? What's an I Love Kim Possible? Do you work for Disney? And then I have to explain, and then I regret my branding choices. But, but I imagine with COVID being over and conventions starting to kind of come up, people are kind of desperate to do something. And the ones that I've been getting, I've been booked for 2. Let me pull up the info before I forget where I put stuff. So I've been booked for 2 so far, and there's 2 pending right now, but these are the ones that are signed, sealed, delivered, so I will tell you a little bit about them. The first one is called Nerdfest, which is in Idaho. Let me read the dates. August 27th through 29th, Davenport, Idaho. I always get Idaho and Ohio and Iowa confused.
They both start. They're in the middle of America, and they both start with I.
There's a lot of it's confusing. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, it is. Oh, Iowa. So IOWA. So Davenport, Iowa. So both of these conventions I've not been to ever. I've not been to these parts of the country ever. I've never been obviously by me getting confused by these things, I don't know. I've never been to a Davenport before or whatever. So these should be interesting experiences. And then the second one is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And to be fair, it is confusing. Words. It is confusing because they are having a summer version of their convention called Grand Rapids Comic-Con Summer Bash, I think. But I am going to the November show, and So it's the 14th, the 12th and the 14th. That show seems pretty lit. They'll have Billy West. So, and if you want to go to Nerdfest, if you put in your code for KP, was it KP Nerd for a coupon? How much of a coupon it is, I'm not sure. They didn't tell me, but if you want to go, then there's your coupon code.
It's some kind of a discount.
Yeah, you'll get a discount. Who knows what for? And then on site, as I've talked about in past shows, I do commissions. So if you want me to draw like anything or your dog is something. Oh, speaking of dogs, I am planning to bring my dog Harry to Nerdfest. So if you want to pet Harry for free, then you can come to Nerdfest and pet Harry, and it will be good.
There you go. You got a doggo. A good doggo is an incentive.
Pet doggo for good luck. So, and then I got 2 pending that I will not reveal until they are signed, sealed, delivered. So, but I will keep the podcast posted because I don't know. I got nothing else to do. So anyway, so I'm gonna break down how you travel to conventions, or if you traveling conventions on a budget, and learn. If you want to add something, please interrupt me and we will stop and you can add your thing. So essentially, as far as getting to the convention, there's a bunch of ways you can do it. If you're in driving distance, or like somewhat driving distance, maybe like 7 to 10 hours, I want to say, is somewhat driving distance. People usually don't do that, but if you're gun-ho, then you can do that. Usually it's cheaper at that point just to take a flight, because if you're going by yourself, then the amount of money will probably be the same between money and gas. So the alternative, if you want to save money and drive, is to ride share. So if you want to ride share for a specific convention, there's a lot of cool places you can find people maybe in your area to ride share. I recommend going on the Facebook for the convention, or checking your local listings of maybe your friends, if there's a nerd club, I guess, at your school or college or something, and be like, hey, guess what? This con is happening here. Who wants to go and split gas? And if you do that, then gas might, be very cheap. There's also the alternative that a lot of people don't think of, is taking a Greyhound over, or a train, or something like that over. That is also cheaper than driving by yourself, plus you don't actually have to do the driving. And most Greyhound buses, or most trains, have Wi-Fi on board, so if you wanted to watch all of Game of Thrones or something, then that is also an option. I've never traveled to a convention by train or Greyhound, but I do know is an option. And, you can probably, if it's not too far away, then you can maybe generally get a round trip, maybe like $100, depending on where you're going for the Greyhound. Any other points you want to add, Lauren, before I keep on talking?
Well, it's also, when it comes to airlines, make sure you do your research on airlines
I have some good tips on airlines.
By the way, one that's like overall, like generally really good in all categories, fly Southwest. It's in terms of the baggage coverage, in terms of just overall flight quality, in terms of all that. I'm just saying, out of my experiences.
Let me tell you about Southwest, because I agree with Lauren, but I'm going to basically break down why she's saying that. So, usually, if you tend to save money and want to buy a lot of shit from your convention, then Southwest is the way to go, because Southwest lets you bring 2 checked bags, so those big-ass bags, 50 pounds or under, for free, and it is the only airline that will let you do that. Any other airline will charge you, and most other airlines usually let you bring a check-on bag and like a backpack or a purse, those 2 things. The airlines you want to avoid are Spirit and Frontier, because they look cheap, but they will charge you for the little roll-on bags, and you have to fit everything in one singular backpack. I've made that mistake before where I fly Frontier, and then they're just like, it's like, that's an extra $75 for your carry-on, and I'm just like, well, shit, I could have flown Delta for not having this. Also thing, if you care about, Southwest doesn't have assigned seating. Most other airlines have assigned seating. I think American has assigned seating. I think Delta definitely has assigned seating. I don't remember any of the other ones off the top of my head. But anyway, so Delta, from my experience, usually has a little bit nicer insides, I guess. Like Southwest, it will be kind of hit or miss if they have like little TVs and you can watch TV or whatever. But on Delta, there's a higher chance that they will have those things, or you can like play games or whatever. But the majority of the time, if you want to play it safe, bring something that has a high battery life, like an iPad. Your laptop will not make it for a 2 or 3 hour flight unless you have a plug-in thingy. And sometimes seats have those in the middle, but other times they do not. So don't risk it. So get like an iPad, something that can last long. Download like shit because you don't want to rely on Wi-Fi because there won't be Wi-Fi in the plane unless you want to pay extra for it. And then you can watch
even then,
whatever.
you have to gauge how much do you really need that Wi-Fi in that time that you're traveling. Like if it's for work stuff, if you absolutely have to send emails and all that stuff, then yes, I totally get you'd have to have the Wi-Fi for that. Otherwise, yeah, prepare yourself with all this other stuff that does not require Wi-Fi. Yeah, get some games downloaded, get plenty of music downloaded. Like even so, like I backed up so much music to my Amazon Music when I was traveling to Baltimore and to New York a couple years ago for when I was, well, one was a family vacation and the other one was to BronyCon. But I had all this stuff backed up just in the event of stuff, and lucky for me, landed in Denver on the way to BronyCon and got a 7 to 8 hour layover. Fun. But so I was prepared, but at least I was stopped at the airport too, so free Wi-Fi there.
Okay. Yeah, well, as far as the
Denver airport's really nice though, so I could have had it worse.
Yeah, and as far as the airport Wi-Fi, it's kind of hit or miss whether they have free Wi-Fi or sometimes they make you watch an ad to get free Wi-Fi, sometimes just like check this box to make sure you're not watching porn and then you can get the Wi-Fi. But sometimes, unfortunately, airports, especially smaller airports, will charge you for their Wi-Fi once you land. So don't depend on airport Wi-Fi either. So another helpful cheat thing, Bob, is music takes up less power than watching things. So if you're afraid of running out of juice on your iPad or whatever, then you can listen to music.
Download some podcasts, like maybe ours for a bit.
I doubt you listen to all the episodes. I know.
You could listen to all of our episodes.
All of them.
Not in it. Well, maybe not in a 2 hour flight unless you're doing a speed run, but
yeah. So pick some that you want to, and then maybe you can like
pick a couple episodes.
Yeah, you can draw along with a KP or something like that. I don't know, whatever you want to do. So as well as a lot of people don't know that they exist, but you can get a portable battery, and just in case.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those are so good.
It's great.
I have one,
and they're like what, $20, something like that.
Yeah, so they run at a really reasonable price. Yeah, obviously if you're looking, I mean, you can get one off Amazon real easy, and they're not expensive, and especially they're worth every dime that you spend because you're usually pretty quick to charge up if you have to, you store them up, and they'll last you for a long time. Mine is really good. It can hold a lot of juice, and it's not that expensive. So like mine, I think is a Rave Power, so it's a RAV power bank, and that's what they're technically called, like battery banks, power banks. So yeah, look for those. Stock up on one, get it all juiced up before you get on your flight, and you're good.
Yeah, so those are a lifesaver, especially if you have a lot of layovers, because some airports have outlets to charge shit, but other times they don't, especially if you're flying into a small airport during a layover. There's a lot of things you can't predict because airports are kind of weird, especially now. Don't rely on anyone. Yay. So, I think that's mostly airports. My parents make fun of me because I'm the one who ends up going to the airport the most because
Also try not to be last minute to your flight.
Well, that's, yeah.
I know there's all the jokes about, all these white families that are like, oh, we gotta be there 3 hours before our flight.
Damn white people.
No, That's what they said. I'm like, it's not strictly that. I mean, it's just like, I've seen so many people show up 3+ hours before their flight because guess what? There's TSA, there's this and that they have to go through. And then what if you want to eat before a long frickin' flight? You know, they always take that into account as well. So you have to do all this planning to even go into the airport before your flight. Because of the process. It's the baggage check. It's going through TSA. It's going through all these security checkpoints. Then sometimes your terminal's on the complete opposite end of the airport. And you really want to be running Home Alone style to the gate.
I've done that before. It's not fun.
Because next thing you know, you're leaving Kevin at home. Or he's going to New York.
Oh no, I left Harry at the airport. He's supposed to go to the convention.
Harry ended up on a flight to New York and
who's this dog? Anyway,
he ran off with your backpack with your credit cards. Oh no, Harry, don't do that.
Best case scenario, you get there early and you're just there and you can listen to all the KP podcasts that you just downloaded because you got all your shit together. But you know, worst case, you probably just sit down and your plane's loading. So I'd say like at least an hour and a half, depending on how busy and or not busy your airport is. Also, airports are big. You also want to give yourself extra time in case you get lost.
Like if you're looking at an LAX, an O'Hare, a Denver airport, a JFK, those are huge like international airports that are enormous. Like Denver's is like a city in a city. It's big. It has its own monorail. So, yeah, basically like a little train that goes between all the wings. That's how big it is. So please time your visit wisely when your arrival to the airport. Research, do a little lay of the land, gauge it, know where you're going. I hope you know your local airport by this time. But if it's your first time going, then do a little research before you go in, especially as procedures may change over time.
I think they're so weird about you bringing like food or bottled drinks through the airline, but they're not as picky as like the little bottles of shampoo. There's a really good Family Guy joke where they're like, "Oh, why do they ban shampoo?" And then there's a cut to like the pilots washing their hair while they're flying the airplane, and that's why the shampoo is banned. So anyway, just bring a bottle of water, an empty bottle, and you can fill it there, and that's why they have all the stuff there. Or packaged food is probably fine. Like, if you have a bag of chips that's not opened already, then you're probably fine. It's just like they don't want you to like half a bag or something. And depending on specific things, you can bring specific things. They might have to test things like contact solution. I brought my fish from when I was out of LA to quarantine. He died about a year ago, but he definitely made it through the airplane. It was funny, and I got a picture of having the fish in a soda bottle, with not plugged in, buckled in the seatbelt, and I thought I was smart. So anyway, rooming is similar, where you have, if you find people in advance and say you going there for Thursday through Saturday as far as rooming, if you split it between 4 people, that's about $50 per person, which is nothing compared to having to pay for the whole thing the whole time, which is easily $500. So you can even join the KP fan server and see if anyone is going to the convention that I'm going to. But if not, then, tweet at the convention if there's a place, people are going to find other room shares. Ask local people, obviously be safe. Meet these people in person, make sure you feel comfortable with them.
Yeah, no blindly assuming, oh, you all are 20-somethings who are going, 20-somethings, 30-somethings going to the convention. You're all good people, right? Yeah, do some screening.
Just pull up to the convention with a sign that says free candy, and it's fine, guys. Generally, if people are going to a convention, especially if they're nerds, like if you see fursuits or you see like nerdy shirts, obviously use your best judgment, but nerds are usually pretty nice. And, and if there's ever a problem, if they're giving you a problem, then you can tell con security staff and they will kick their butt. If you have any screenshots or something like that. But generally, a lot of people do that. They room with friends that they met online. Again, assuming they know them for a long time, feel comfortable, and there was like 4 to 5 people in a 2 king-size bed or whatever. And again, it's like $50 per night. So between food and if you do everything in the buddy system, so maybe your flight's like $200, and then your room with 4 people is $50, and then maybe your food is an extra $100, then that's like $350, which isn't bad at all for a vacation comparatively if you go somewhere else and you're having to spend all this money on your own by yourself, and you can easily make like a $1,500 vacation and everything is sad and miserable. Do you have any other fun tips, Lauren, that you don't think I've talked about yet?
For tips, yeah, I can't recommend it enough to share a room with people and share the rates. Obviously, every aspect of this is planning ahead. There's a lot of stuff. Maybe if there's something that's extremely last minute, like suddenly you decide I'm gonna go to this convention on day 3 or whatever, and it's like, and maybe it's like day 3 of 4. And you're like, I'm gonna go, and it's a bit of a drive, so maybe you can bunk with somebody in their room if they'll allow it. But yeah, always check with groups first. But otherwise, yeah, it's so important to go with a group to these conventions or meet up with a group. Yeah, and it's just like traveling there. You gotta, if you're ride sharing, obviously that's extremely helpful. But yeah, and then I guess in terms of man, I feel like a lot of stuff is already kind of like it falls under that umbrella, but yeah, I'm like I feel like a lot of the sharing stuff already kind of like it falls under a pretty grand umbrella of like, okay, and then use your proper judgment, plan ahead, whatever fine details, plan it with your group, plan it with your friends, and you know what? It's funny. I learned how to use Discord because of BronyCon, because of the very last BronyCon, because that was used as our means of communication. So that way, if people were going to do different lunches or different dinners, and or somebody was going to the, let's say we had a vendor friend that was going to the vendor hall, and they're like, I need something, and so they would post it in a vendors only channel, going like, help, can somebody bring me water because I'm stuck at my post, and it's like, okay, well, somebody will respond to that, and they go to that. So yeah, thank the last BronyCon for teaching me how to quickly learn a Discord and how efficient it is for communication, especially at a convention when you're keeping track of multiple people at the same time.
Okay, I will continue. So as far as Discord is great because it's a way to connect with people that doesn't cost any additional money. But the key is that it requires some kind of data or Wi-Fi service. So if you're planning to meet these people in person, I guess, have people assuming they're American, have people sell as a backup, just in case, because God knows, like, the only time I'll ask for people's cell phone for people that I've known, like, for years is just like, oh, we're going to this convention. Well, if someone dies, I need to reach you, then I can't just use this like a weird person.
Yeah, make sure you have numbers in that regard, and especially if it's a group you're traveling with and you trust. That's number exchanges is important.
Yeah, yep. I know group texts can be annoying, but you only have to stay of them for the duration of the con, not the whole time. If you don't know how to use Discord, that's what like everyone primarily uses for this kind of stuff these days, unless you're like we use Discord for the teamwork. We use Discord for the Discord fan server, obviously, that you can join if you want to. There's plenty of how-to Discord video thingy-bobs on YouTube if you're just like, what is a Discord? Because the UI can be a little bit overwhelming if you don't know what you're doing, but it does make life a lot easier, and it's a lot more CPU friendly than Skype. For putting it on your phone, like Discord barely uses any CPU versus Skype would just like eat so much data and people will complain about it. So unless you had unlimited data, most people would not put Skype on their phone. But Discord does not have that problem, and Discord is slowly taking over, and Skype is becoming obsolete, which is good. Fuck Skype. Skype is mean.
This interview run through
this
Skype.
interview, just KP saying Discord is best on her podcast. What, everything is weird, or what? How unlike is that? Make sure you Google Maps your hotel from the convention center if there is a convention center. So usually, cons will come in two types, I guess. There is one type That was like BronyCon, where the convention is in a convention center, and then there are hotels surrounding the vicinity. The other type is usually for smaller cons, where the convention is in a hotel, and they use the conference rooms on the first floor, and then people usually stay in the hotel. For both situations, you want to book your room as soon as possible, because God knows that going and staying at the hotel site or the hotel closest to the convention site is so much nicer than booking a hotel last minute and having to schlep back and forth like a mile to the con.
Especially if either you're a vendor or you're somebody who intends on buying a ton of stuff at the convention and has a lot to lug back. So, or if you're a cosplayer. I can't emphasize enough how many times I've heard the horror stories from people who had when they would go to a convention, they have like these extreme costumes, and how miserable it was to try and walk long distances or travel long distances in costume, or they would try and lug the costume with them, so they would change their it's a whole thing. But I remember the very first time I ever went to a convention ever was Anime Expo back in the day, when it was still kind of relatively a smaller con. It was still at the LA Convention Center, but I remember we were like, oh, let's go eat at this sushi place that's it's not far off. It's a few blocks away. Now, a few blocks away in downtown LA in the middle of summer in 110-degree heat, with 90% of your group in cosplay. That's multiple layers. You know, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. I hear all these horror stories of, like, I want to say kids, but kids, like, finding a cheap motel, like, in the vicinity of, like, the convention center and being like, look at me, I saved all this money. It's only like $50 a night. And then them realizing that they have to drive in to go to the convention, and then they don't realize that there's charged parking at the closer you get to the city, and parking is like $25, and then everyone's just like, oh, forget it at that point. Like, you will save more money getting the hotel closer to the convention center than having to drive in and paying $25 every day, and that doesn't include when you have to go off site to, like, eat food, and if there's some kind of emergency, there's all this shit that could go wrong, and you want to minimize the shit that could go wrong.
Yeah, it's basically you're closing every loophole that you can, that can come up. Obviously, you can't nail them all, but it's okay. I mean, that's kind of part of the experience. So just make sure, when you plan accordingly, especially if you're thinking of going to a convention and you're in cosplay and all that kind of stuff, or you, again, are buying a ton of stuff at the convention, you're going to be lugging a ton of stuff back and forth to your room or something like that. So, plan accordingly. Choose your places wisely. If you're not going to be staying at the place where the convention is, look at all the places near there pretty much as soon as, like, ticket sales go up for the convention, and you've got to plan ahead. If you have plans ahead in advance, it saves you all that grief later, especially when rates tend to be lower if you're going to try and get them right away, if you're trying to book your room right away. Because otherwise, closer to the convention, the rates will go up, and guess what? You're SOL if you're trying to find a cheaper room, unless by some miracle you bunk with somebody and then you can share a rate or something there.
A lot of times too, conventions will have specific rates with hotels around the area. So I remember, like, a lot of times when we did BronyCon, we'd have these they'd have, like, little map and be like, if you book here, you can save 10%. And then when you check in, all the staff have these, like, little BronyCon buttons and say, welcome to Baltimore, and, like, these poor hotel staff. They're like, what the fuck is this pony thing? But, there's also tips like that depending on how big the con is. I think from what I can tell, the Davenport con, Nerdfest, is kind of a smaller con. And the other one is bigger. I think the other one is like 12,000-ish people, and then Nerdfest, I think, will probably be like maybe 1,000. I haven't checked the numbers recently, but it is at a convention. They're both at convention centers, so none of these are just hotels just hanging out. So if you're in any of these areas or whatever, or you want to bring your parents to see KP because of that person they heard about on the internet 5 years ago, then these are just some nice tips. I'm trying to think of anything else. A lot of times for conventions, what we would do is we'd go to like a supermarket, like when we flew in, and would just stock up on some like just general food, just in case people wanted to snack.
Yeah, food that if you're, stock up on snacks that don't require refrigeration, because odds are you're not going to have a sizable fridge to put a bunch of food into. If it does have to be refrigerated, make sure it's something small, because odds are you're going to have maybe a mini fridge in your room, maybe. Because God only knows how many times I've gone to conventions and people are like, oh, I'll just take the leftovers. No, you're not. Unless you're in a suite with a full-size fridge. Or your leftovers are extremely, like in a tiny box that can fit into a mini fridge. Just please plan ahead for that kind of stuff and know your room. See what your rooms have as features, and if it comes with a mini fridge and all that kind of stuff. Because it's always a pain to when you get a meal and you're like, I want to save some of this stuff for later. Well, I'm like, well, maybe take it with you and eat it in 20 minutes, because otherwise, it's like, otherwise, if you're staying in a place with a kitchen or something like that, otherwise you're kind of out of luck unless you stock up on stuff that doesn't have to be refrigerated. So yeah.
And a lot of times too, this is also a planning thing, but make sure you plan what you want to see. So a lot of times, a lot of complaints that I will hear is that people will spend way too much time in the vendor hall, just like wandering around and not scheduling the things that they want to do. So generally, when I do conventions, I have 3 general convention package thingy bobs, unless they want something else specifically. So the first one is a YouTube production panel where I just break down like how we make the content and how other YouTubers make the content, and that kind of thing. The second one is starting a fan project, which is a bigger scope of like, if you want to start a fan project, if you want to start like an audio player, if you want to do something on the internet that requires other people, then that's more of discussion-based panel. And the third one I usually do is we do a Kim Possible screening. So I pick an episode of Kim Possible, we watch it, and then we do trivia. At the Davenport one, they mark that as an 18 plus panel, which is fine. And then for trivia, we'll do different prizes that I'll get the dollar store like before my flight or something like that. So I guess my point being is make sure you plan what you want to do at the conventions, and you give yourself enough time to get from A to B. Make sure you're scheduling, lunch breaks or whatever. Just depending on how anal you want to be about, as far as like, do I pack my own food? Is there a Subway close by? Whatever. Because a lot of times people will just spend way too much time in the vendor hall, lose track of time, and then realize like, oh, I only got like a third of the things that I wanted to do. Like you're at the convention to go to the events. You're not at the convention to pay for more things. So
you're not spending money. You're not just there to spend more money after spending money to be there. Like, it's part of the reason you can be there. Don't make it your sole purpose, because there's all these panels, all of these. There's screenings, there's all these fun activities and parties. Go out there and give them all, well, not all of them, but give which ones you'd like a try. I know the people that run them, we're not going to bite. I've been on a number of panels as is, or at least been, even if I'm panel adjacent, I've been involved in at least maybe even post-panel stuff. We're not going to bite, and we appreciate anybody that comes. So please, go ahead and give some a try. Look at your schedule, see which ones appeal to you, and go and experience some stuff, and you'll get some laughs. Maybe you'll get some tears. Maybe you'll get some new knowledge. So definitely do it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that you're paying for the programming. You're not paying for, the vendor hall. And it frustrates me to no end where I go to convention and just like, oh, where's the programming? And I'm like, what programming? We're just having the vendor hall. And I'm just like, so you're paying to let people basically go into a farmer's market, essentially, except it's nerdy themed. And I'm like, no, that's not an event. That's just like a dealer's hall or a flea market or something. But then you're charging people more money to get there. Okay, got it. So
that's how I felt with that's how I felt with, like, I think the first time I ever went to CTN, and they have changed things up a bit since
let's
then.
not talk
But
about
I
CTN.
remember the first. Well, no, I'm talking about how they did take notes and change things in the future. But the very first one years ago that I went to, and I remember I didn't know in advance, but it was like one of those things where I paid money to be there, and you're like, okay, so here's the vendor hall and all that stuff, and then, oh, look at all these panels I could go into. But then you had to, like, pay for a tier to go into a bunch of panels, like most of them, and I didn't know. I thought it was, I'm like, okay, well, with all the other conventions, it comes with it. And maybe if there's like a fundraiser one, like EQLA, for example, had an evening with Lauren Faust or whatever, and that was like you pay for a separate experience, and you pay for that in advance, and that's fine. But everything else comes with the convention, comes with your admission. So it's like, yeah, most of the time that's the case, is, everything comes with your admission. So please go experience that stuff. And if there's something in particular that's like maybe an additional charge thing, like the Lauren Faust thing, if it's something you really want to do, and notably, it doesn't have to be a fundraiser thing. But hey, if you can do it for a fundraiser thing, then you're doing something good with it too.
Yeah. Charity events are always nice. I was actually that reminds me, I'm gonna email Davenport and be like, hey, you guys doing a charity event? If not, can we do a charity event? Like, we can help one of the children's hospitals that are local for free, and it'll be fun, and I would love to help run it, because yay, children. You can't call me a bad person, people on the internet. Anyway, so let's see if there's anything else I can think of that we haven't covered. Do you want to cover 621, Lauren?
Yes, the 621 rule. You've probably heard it. Maybe you haven't. For those that haven't, the 621 rule is basically the guidelines to personal hygiene and self-care at conventions. 6 hours of sleep minimum, 2 meals a day at least minimum, and a shower a day. Some means of cleaning yourself, because Lord knows there's people who don't abide by the 621 rule. And they really need to. Let's just say there's and plus, it's not just even so much as being hygienic, it's also to be healthy, because nothing is worse than going to a convention and getting con crud. And do I even need to explain what con crud is? Con crud is exactly what you think it is. It's getting sick at a convention. So, and in the wake of all this pandemic stuff, yeah, there's going to be a lot more precautions put into place to make sure that people stay healthy, and that people be responsible coming into the conventions as well to be healthy. But yeah, even in the before times, it was more like, come prepared to the conventions with the 621 rule in mind, and basically make friends with whatever pharmacy or market is nearby that you can get some supplements, vitamins, first aid stuff. Because it's because it's all stuff. Stay healthy, stay hygienic. Everybody is happy that way. So especially when you're all kind of together in a convention hall or in a hotel for several days, and let alone if you're rooming with other people. Yes, that matters.
Yeah, I
too.
should
621 rule applies
clarify
there.
too. There's two kinds of con crud. The first kind of con crud is just basically being around a lot of people in a short amount of time, and you just get sick from the proximity, which is not really much you can do except just making sure you're washing your hands, or you're keeping yourself clean, and you take showers. Please take showers. The worst thing that pretty girls, not that, I'm pretty or whatever, but like the worst thing that pretty girls that you want to meet.
So you agree? You think you're really pretty?
I'm just so pretty. Anyway, the worst thing that pretty girls want to see or smell is gross, maybe brony BO. Like, it's the most disgusting thing. I swear to God. Like, no one wants to smell you. So make sure you get a 24-hour to 48-hour, deodorant. Don't get fucking Old Spice that you spray. That shit's disgusting, and that doesn't count as a shower. Jesus Christ.
Nope. It's just like it would take only a few minutes out of your day or your night. Just please, again, 621. 1 shower or bath a day. 2 meals a day minimum. Yes, make sure you eat. I know there's especially, I'm going to say this for all the vendors in the audience here. I know from a workaholic standpoint, I know you are devoted to sitting there for several hours to vend and to sell and to make your stuff at your table. Please eat. Please stay hydrated, because and please abide by 621 in the respect, especially in the respect of sleep. Sleep and eat, please. It's so important, because the grind is not worth your sanity, your health, everything there, because it's you're a person at the end of the day. You're a human. You have to stay healthy, hydrated, and alive. So
I mean, ideally alive. Okay. And the second kind of con crud is just like, as we're leading into not taking care of yourself, and then your immunity is weakened, plus you're just overexhausted because maybe you haven't slept like any amount at all, or like you've eaten one food the whole weekend, and now you're throwing up on the way home. That can be avoided, and I know everyone's excited because you've never seen these people in person, or you haven't seen them in so long, or whatever, and I'm probably the last person who should be giving advice about this, because I'm a baby, and especially if I am working majority of the day. I take naps in a normal day, so like me working a whole like 8 to 10 hour shift, if that's what you want to call it, in the vendor hall, plus doing all the stuff, like I'm dead. Like I'm going to sleep at like 9 p.m. I'm done.
Yeah, mind you that there's vendors that may also be on panels, and they may have to have somebody hold down the fort, like maybe security or somebody else is maybe selling in their place. So bear with all the very tired, hardworking vendors that are out there, and especially if they also so happen to be doing panels as well.
Yeah, I think we'll do a separate episode later down the line if like people want to vend, and like breaking down how you vend at a con. But like for now, for the general populace, I guess I know you're excited about meeting Slim Shady for the first time or whatever. You met him online, and you can touch him in person and all that stuff. Not that kind of touching, just you can have a physical space with him. Then you two might stay up all night talking, but then you're gonna shoot out the rest of the weekend because you spent up all your night talking, and now you're tired. And bitch, you can only run on like 2 hours of sleep for what, like 2 or 3 days, and then everything sucks and you're miserable, and that's not really your vacation. So and then you might get sick, and then it's like a whole mess of just things that could probably go wrong will go wrong. So again, I'm the worst person, because I always like try to stay up for the Brony concerts or whatever back in the day, but then I was never, well, I stayed for like a couple, but I was never able to, because like I was exhausted, and I was just like, I hate everyone, I want to go to sleep, everyone smells weird. So you will get more out of your time if you or you can take a nap like me. You can go back to your hotel room, assuming that your hotel room's close by, so eat like 20 minutes earlier.
Yeah, drag yourself zombie style back to your room and get your sleep.
And then you can wake up and go to late night concerts, or go to the late night panels, whatever your plans are. That counts as sleep. Whatever you're gonna do, man. Let's see. And then just
that's it. And actually, kind of sort of related to that, can I add a point here? As I notice, people tend to go to conventions, and it's like they want to meet certain people at conventions, maybe even certain personalities for panels and at the vendor hall and all that kind of stuff. It's a long weekend or set of days that if they're there the entire time, set up, doing the whole thing, then tearing down and leaving, or even just running, or even just like emceeing and being and running panels. The days are long and exhausting for everybody. So if somebody's not at 100% when you meet them, just be patient.
Oh yeah, I think we've talked about this probably in a past podcast, but I hate when I'm I've worked like a 10 to 12 hour day, and someone doesn't like someone talks to me, and I might be a little snappy or cranky, or I just want to go to my hotel room, and then they complain on Twitter that I was a bitch, and I'm just like, yo, I am a human being. I work so long. This is like halfway vacation, halfway not vacation for me. I am sitting in that goddamn chair, and if not, I'm not sitting there. I'm talking to people for an hour and then coming back to the goddamn chair. And like I remember,
Yeah, social batteries run out at some point, guys. We can't always be on. Even if we're the social butterfly, we have our own batteries that drain, and we're just like, I want to go get food. I want to retreat to my room for a little bit. I just want some peace and quiet because I've been surrounded by thousands of people today, and I would like to recharge.
yes. So
please.
if me or just the general people that you want to meet or a little catty, especially at the end of the day, I promise it is 120% not personal. It's usually because of these reasons we have talked about. So it's always, and it really hurts, like, to know that, like, oh, that was their one chance to meet me and they caught me at an off moment and I can't be there I can't be 120 all the time, and that was the chance, and they don't like come back to be like, oh, hey, I saw you earlier, and I guess I caught you at a bad moment and I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Like, that is like, then you're like, oh wow, that person cares about me as a human being and understands that I can't, I am not a human battery. I'm just a person. So that's probably the way to approach it versus just like, man, KP is a bitch and I hate her and I came to this convention and she didn't remember me.
It's meeting people halfway. So it's like, again, it's like, we would make the effort to say hi to you and stuff like that, and spend time with you. It's meeting them halfway as well, as to show your care and attentiveness to how we may be in that moment. And yeah, that's always appreciated if you have a means of sending a message, a DM, a nice DM, please. If afterwards, saying, maybe that's what initiates conversation. Not saying that it always will, but if you're nice, just saying it helps, and then you have a friend. So, sort of related. To where if you're traveling with a group or spending time with a group, everybody help look out for each other. I mean, I feel like that doesn't, especially the girls, because yeah, there's gonna, like, again, we're gonna have some nice people, plenty of nice people at these conventions, but at the same time, there's also not so nice people at these conventions. It is a matter of yeah, I'm also coming from the grounds of, yes, it's a safety thing, but it's also a matter of even health. Like, if you're traveling with a group of friends, and it goes back to kind of the 621, but like, this is why I said make friends with your pharmacy nearby or a market that sells supplements to keep you healthy. Because I joke that I tend to run around like I'm like the little nurse that runs around with everybody, because I would often have a bag, a satchel, backpack, anything like that, filled with echinacea, vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin D, all Band-Aids, first aid stuff. And so, because I know sometimes in that moment there isn't always a first aid person nearby, and or somebody's coming down with con crud, and you're trying to keep their immune system boosted. Just look out for each other, and I feel like, it's so funny, I feel like there could be a whole other health podcast and saying how to stay healthy at a convention. But yeah, do all you can to look out for each other, even from a health standpoint, if you can. It's also like what we said, make sure everybody eats, everybody gets some sleep, doesn't overwork themselves or go to too many things and their battery runs out and they go, but I can do one more panel, or I could do one more party tonight. No. If you're barely standing, you should probably go recharge. Yeah, again, look out for each other.
Okay.
Care for each other. And
I thought of another thing, so I will add it. If you are going to a convention, especially one that you expect to be highly attended, there you go. Make sure you book your tickets in advance, and make sure you get your tickets the Thursday before the convention starts. So typically what people will do is fly in sometime Thursday morning to Thursday afternoon, go to the hotel, drop their stuff off, and then go to the convention center and get their tickets, because there are a lot of things that happen in the mornings that you might miss if you don't have your tickets at that point. Plus, and or the line for checking in on Friday is going to be 10 times worse, and it's much easier just to get her with on Thursday and check it in. So usually what people do is they book their hotel rooms from Thursday to Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, and then they leave after the convention is over on Sunday, so sometimes Sunday afternoon. You can do it the other way and just fly in on Friday, but results may vary. So always make sure you get your tickets in advance if you can, and try to check in as soon as possible so you don't miss any of the times or any of the events at the convention, especially and or because typically at horse conventions, some of the high priced, a lot of times it was plushies, but some of the more limited items are going to go fast in the vendor room, and they will go on a first come first serve basis. So if you want to make sure you can pick whatever you want, whether it be plushies, and if you're planning to get a lot of shit, just do the Southwest thing and bring an empty bag, and then you could put all your plushies and your paintings or whatever in there, whatever. So
or you go to hotel concierge or whatever and have it. I think that you can go to hotel concierge and you can have stuff. I think you can have stuff shipped out from
good,
yeah. There. Like, let's say you had bigger pieces and you can have them shipped out.
There's also a lot of...
So look up your procedures for that, depending on
There's
where
also
you're
a lot of FedEx posts in the convention centers that you can ship out stuff if you'd like to. A lot of times people will ship in, like, gaming systems and ship it into the hotel so they don't have to bring it with them on the plane and then open it there. So that happens a lot of times too, and that's, we can say that for the vending episode as far as those cheats and tricks and stuff like that. But, prepare to bring things back depending on how much you want to buy. You will usually buy more than you expect to buy, just a heads up, just as a forewarning. So I don't know how much, like, commission plushies go. I think that's a pretty standard brony thing, but, like, there might be other things. There might be paintings. I usually sell, original paintings, and, like, we'll probably be selling t-shirts, whatever. So you just better safe than sorry, and you don't want to, get stuck with more things than you thought. So maybe bring, like, if you want to drop some bank, maybe bring like $150, and you can get commissions. Prints are relatively cheap and easy to transport, just depending on what, or if you're looking for something specific. And a lot of people are artisans at these conventions, so you can usually get something custom. So, like, I usually deal with custom, like, art specifically. So, the sky's the limit. And most people, you don't have to worry too much. Card's usually the easiest. Most vendors can take card. You can have cash just in case, but these days I don't think I've seen a lot of vendors without card readers, and they're really easy to get from someone who has a card reader. So I don't think that's...
Yeah. They continue to be easier to obtain over the years, to be more accessible. Oh, I was going to say one more thing, because this is all a matter of travel. Depending on where the convention is, look up all the stuff that happens around your convention too, not inside, around. Like I actually, there was quite a bit to do even when I was like at when I went to the last BronyCon. They have an aquarium there right out on Chesapeake Bay, and a really cool one at that. And sometimes all these places will offer discounts to go experience stuff. Like maybe they're, like for the aquarium, they had a discount for people who are going to the convention. So I was able to go with Chrissy, one night for a sister time. We went to, just before they closed, we got to have a little bit of like sunset, it was like almost like a nighttime experience, being able to go in as the sun was setting. It was really cool. Like the way they lit up the aquariums and the aviary. It was really cool. And then there was also a ton of fun restaurants. There's the place called Dick's Last Resort that's also on the bay. And if you haven't heard of that place, they're the place that has the purposely rude waiters. They are paid to be rude to you. And it's freaking hilarious because then as long as you can take a good ribbing, you can give them a good ribbing, and they will make a personalized insult hat out of paper for you. So that was fun. I'm like, I dig those kinds of places. But then there's also there may be museums, there may be even zoos, like I said, zoos and aquariums around there. Go ahead and see the city. Go and experience stuff around the convention, because you got to travel somewhere, especially if it's their first time going somewhere. Go and experience some, even if you don't have much time, experience of one or two things outside of the convention, because it'll be worth your time to go and visit a new place and be able to get a taste of the place outside of that convention. Just like it is worth it to get crab cakes in Baltimore, because crabs.
Okay, I think that's all of the things. That's about time anyway. So, if you're new to the podcast, this is a weird episode for you to be listening to. But anyway, we have tons of old podcasts. Couple announcements for the class besides the conventions that we already talked about. Please, oh God, make sure you're watching the main videos. We worked really hard on this Castlevania video, and then it did really bad. And then we're just like, well,
Castlevania just ended, guys. Go watch Castlevania. Go watch the video. It's right there.
We're really mad because we were just like, but we got it out fast and it's still trending, and why does no one care?
Like, comment,
yeah, if I don't have a
share.
Patreon or anything like that. The best way you can support is like, comment, share, subscribe, turn your notifications on for new videos.
Gotta make sure that the algorithm is your friend.
Of
That's what you gotta do. It's constantly trying to. It's an uphill
Of this
battle,
recording, we probably won't have a new video for 2 weeks because we're working on finishing up 2 very big videos. So those will be coming out. We plan to cover some Rick and Morty stuff. I just wrote a video about Invincible, which is great. You can watch that before I talk about it on the internet. I'm probably, what was the other? Discord just appeared in Pony Life, not just, but he appeared in Pony Life again, Owl House. There's a lot of things I will get to eventually, but in the meantime, do all those things. And the other thing I said is I had a suggestion where you guys, if you want to write things about, like, questions for us or anything like that, you could submit it, and no one submitted to anything, so I'm reminding you again, if we have enough inquiries, we can make a whole episode about fan letters or something like that, where we read fan letters. We can keep it anonymous if that's something that, like, you're
fan questions or anything, or even if you have suggestions for things we want to talk about, go ahead and do that. We'll even take we're talking about, actually we were talking about it earlier, is getting back into movie reviews and stuff like that, where we'll talk about, like we used to talk about, like Onward and all that kind of stuff back early on in the podcast days.
Things that are less dependent on guests, so we're not just waiting forever for new guests.
Yeah, because it's a lot of planning and a lot of coordinating to make all that happen. And then on top of that, if you have guests, reminder again, if you have guest ideas, if you have any names that you can throw that we haven't done yet, or anything like that, go ahead and submit them. We want to hear from you guys. I'm really genuinely curious to hear what you guys have to say.
You, the people.
You, the people, have the power.
So, you can submit anything to animationcommunication@gmail.com. Remember, the K is spelled with the K, or communication spelled with the K, because you get it.
It's spelled with Kim, like Kim Possible, communicator,
get it?
communication.
If not, you can always tag on Twitter or something like that. We check things, so, but yeah, we have to get enough of those in order to do those kind of episodes. We can't get, like, -1 and be like, oh, I guess we're just gonna do something. So I know, like, a couple of you guys care about this, so, like, maybe. So tell us so we feel like our time is being fulfilled. Anyway,
yeah,
I think.
For the schedule, for posting episodes, like the usual times.
Yeah, we'll slowly get back on schedule as we kind of think of things to do in the midst of non-guest themed episodes. So again, if you have a topic that you'd like for us to talk about, then just hit us up and we might just do it. So, whoa, there you go. Yeah, and the only other thing is just make sure, like the thing says on the intro and the outro, you're sharing all of the content with your friends or people you like, because that's the biggest thing. I'm hoping when these big projects drop, they will help us grow. But in the meantime, you're slowly getting new subscribers, and very slowly. And I'm just like, I want to be, the next big king or whatever. And it's hard when I'm just like, I work so hard, man. 500 views. Where are all the subscribers? Are they hiding? Like, not that I take anyone for granted, but it's a little defeatist a little bit. So, watch, like, comment, tell your grandma about KP. She's in hospice. She doesn't have anything else to do, so it's fine.
Yeah, and otherwise, we'll keep planning stuff and we'll keep working with you guys. Yeah, we'll keep cranking stuff. And so stay tuned. Watch the main channel. Watch us. Oh, and every now and then we're trying to, I guess, pick up steam on it. Is if you tuned in, at least on mine end, if you tuned in to Chrissy's channel for the Three Idiots streams, I appreciate you. Those have been absolutely insane and a lot of fun. So yeah, if you guys have been watching on there too, and that's giving you ideas, feed the ideas also. Any movies, maybe we have a duke them out over movies here. I don't know. Or at least maybe we talk about a specific movie, almost like a essay style, talking about why a certain movie doesn't get enough credit, or talk about the history of a film, maybe. I don't know. It gets the great creative juices flowing to talk about and have a bunch of movies all battle it out to bracket. So anyway,
do you.
But yeah,
all right, we'll see you next time on the KP podcast show place. I'm KP and this is Lauren, and good night, Seattle. I don't know.
Yes, stay classy, San Diego.
There you go.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Kimmunication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Kimmunication.